Yeah, Sean and I are good. I think he's a great coach. I think he's, obviously we had our differences there at the end, but he's a great coach. He's done a lot of great things, and he's a guy that taught me a lot.
He's done a great job for them. I mean, they're one of the top offenses the last couple years. He's a really good player. He did a lot of really good things here, for the 4 years that we were together. He deserved better than the way that it all went down. I'll acknowledge that, and I think he knows that too. And and I'm not afraid to admit to those things. But I think we're all better, being able to look back on those things. And I do have more appreciation for him as time goes on.
Jared Goff and Sean McVay at their press conferences this week. Time now to welcome in, covering the Detroit Lions for SI's All Lions coverage, our good friend John Maakaron. Find him on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. John, my friend, what's going on? Partner, good Friday morning to you. How are you?
Everybody, I'm excited. I'm pumped up. The Lions are going to face the Rams in the postseason at Ford Field. It's just the anticipation is so exciting to know that the Detroit fan base, who's deserved the opportunity to see their team in the playoffs. 30 years since 93, since the Lions have played a home playoff game. I can't wait to see it, to be a part of it, and to talk about the game, my confidence level in the team. I'm excited. I'm pumped up this morning.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's go right with that confidence level, man. That's one of the questions that I've been asking, Lions fans, how they feel about this matchup, how they feel going into this game. Is it nervous energy? Do they actually believe that their team can do it on Sunday night?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand the nervous energy. The fear of losing is definitely out there, especially with the team that's coming in. You see a football team that people have really respected. They've provided great memories. 12-5. Not to go under, not to be a situation in which you look at that football team and you go, wow, all the great memories that were created, all the great primetime games, and you look at this football team, the fan base should be confident. This football team has shown that they've been able to rebound from tough adversity. They're gritty, they're young, they're ready to go. They have been built this way so that when the moments are the brightest, that they play their best. And I do expect this football team to put their best foot forward. There is no way this football team falters in front of their home crowd. The energy level should at least carry this football team in the first half, and I expect this football team to play their best, detailed football. The motivation's there for everybody involved in that locker room. Number one, for Jared Goff. Number two, to get Dan Campbell that playoff victory. Get that monkey, that supreme monkey off their back. One playoff win in decades. I think the fan base should be confident. You got a good football team, and they're going to show it this Sunday.
A lot of guys have talked in the locker room this week, man. It feels like that place has been fired up inside Allen Park.
Oh, yeah. I just think that when you realize what's there, they're in the tournament. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, an enigmatic personality, somebody that you just want to talk to. You never know what he's going to say. You never know how he's going to address your question. Calling one of my questions dumb right to my face. I just think that he said it himself. Look, we got to lock in. We could be one and done. If you don't come out right away in that first quarter and bring it, we could be out. And this football team realizes that, hey, we got to come and bring it and play our best football because the opponent is coming in hot. And I think that's just what makes it perfect to play the Los Angeles Rams is that they got everybody's attention. Everybody knows, okay, Stafford, former Lions quarterback, they got offensive weapons. They got two great defensive linemen that can cause havoc. They recognize that, hey, if we don't bring it, it can be very much a long evening. And the Detroit Lions are going to be focused, and they're going to be ready. And, of course, they're amped up. Opportunity now in the tournament, in the playoffs, to do some big things.
As you look at this matchup, one of the guys that I've been kind of, talking about all week has been, Josh Reynolds, because I don't think it's going to be a massively productive game. I think it's going to be like, two really important catches, right? Two important catches that move the sticks and, keep a drive alive, or a catch in the end zone, something like that. Who's a guy that you're kind of keen on that maybe is under the radar, or maybe it's just like, no, this guy's got to have a huge game for this team in order to win?
Yeah, absolutely. Unsung heroes. And that's what's unfortunate in that Khalif Raymond had an opportunity before he got hurt. You saw two explosive plays in the finale against the Vikings, and you realize, okay, it's going to take one or two of those explosive plays. Who's going to bring it? And you recognize now, too, that Josh Reynolds, a former Los Angeles Ram, he downplayed it a little bit this week, kept it cool, when we started asking about McVay and playing the Rams. He kept it very short and sweet and to the point. I think Josh Reynolds is a player that you can count on for some explosive plays. But in the end, not an unsung hero. The guy that's probably got to step it up, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to him on Friday. Jamison Williams is back. Hopefully that you have the opportunity that this player can do some things, one or two explosive plays, and you realize, hey, this football team can change a game. Now, I don't know if he's, again, an unsung hero because the offense really is littered with great players. David Montgomery, I think that this is a guy that's not going to get all the pub. It's going to go to Jahmyr Gibbs. But when you look at it, he's workmanlike, handles his business, really a great addition for this football team, kind of represents what Dan Campbell would want. Yards after the catch, tough yards. Look for David Montgomery to do some things, too, in this game.
Yeah, very, very excited about the Lions trying to be able to run the ball against the Rams defense that has been susceptible to the run. I feel like if the Lions establish David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they get that offense working, they start gaining 3, 4, 5 yards a crack, that's going to open up that pass game. And that's where really, I mean, the ball is in Jared Goff's hands. Your confidence level in him being able to do this, especially with all that outside storyline noise.
No, absolutely. Look, there's the public persona that Jared Goff gives, which everybody at Allen Park loves. Dan Campbell loves that calm, cool, collected demeanor. But look, you don't become an NFL quarterback unless you got a little bit of that dog in you, that willingness to want to come in and change people's perceptions. And slightly, when he's had success, he's kind of thrown some shade at the media, talking about some of the successes that he's had. So look, Jared Goff is a competitor, and he ain't happy that he was traded to the Detroit Lions in that manner. And so I think that when you realize that first season that he had to go through with no offensive weapons, having Anthony Lynn as the OC, which was a colossal failure, now he's got an opportunity on the big stage to show everybody, hey, I'm not just a tier 2 quarterback. I'm somebody that can make the throws, that can stand in the face of pressure. Hey, take a sack from Aaron Donald, get back up, and the next play, make it happen. And that's what's happened with Jared Goff this year. You realize, hey, he's thrown picks, but then the next drive, he's up there again doing and performing at a high level. So he's an ultimate competitor. He's resilient. He's gritty. He really embodies what the Lions are about. Somebody that was cast off to Detroit and expected to kind of just wither away. And what did he do? He worked hard with a coordinator and put together one of the top 5 offenses in the league. He's got a lot to prove, and I think he will.
Do we see James Houston this weekend?
You hope so, right? He's been a full participant in practice. Unfortunately, you heard the news on Thursday that Jerry Jacobs, the cornerback, kind of up and down year, has been placed or will be placed on the injured reserve list, opening up a roster spot. Who's going to take it? Most likely James Houston. I think that this is a player that, oh my goodness, when you realize what he can bring to the table, really can open things up for the defensive line, especially when you got a quarterback that's a sitting duck like Matthew Stafford. Any more pressure that you can bring only helps your defensive line. So I'm hoping the odds are in his favor, and I think that he's going to take that open roster spot and really come out of the gates firing. If he can be, even if his role is first game, third down specialist, he showed last year one of the premier pass rushers already in his young career.
Incredible bend, right? Isn't that what they say about him? He's got great bend, right? His shoulder pads, his elbows basically touch the ground when he's getting around the edge. And to me, to even have his presence out there on the field, the Rams will have to have a heightened awareness of where he's at. Because if not, he's going to get to Matthew Stafford if he can play. And if that is the case, and you bring in Aiden Hutchinson off that other side, holy mackerel! That to me, that's what Hutch has needed all season long, is just somebody else to complement him on the other side.
Absolutely. I had a chance to talk to Charles Harris this week in the locker room, and definitely talked about, hey, well, Stafford gets the ball out pretty quickly at times. How do you kind of tailor a pass rush for that? And obviously, Charles gave Matthew his kudos, said, hey, Matthew's a legend. Sometimes the bull rush is not going to be the primary situation. It's going to be really allowing for the defensive line to just pressure and get and try and disrupt the rhythm of Matthew Stafford. Because if you calculate a blitz and you try to bring a bull rush and Matthew Stafford checks correctly, you now expose the secondary for a big gain. So there's going to be tricks and opportunities for Aaron Glenn to disguise what's going on and really try to disrupt, give Matthew Stafford different looks. But in the end, you're right. The pressure has to get there. If Aiden Hutchinson's dialed up to get home, he has to get home. No more in this situation in a one-and-done scenario, almost getting there. Matthew Stafford's a prime target. If you can get home, sack the quarterback, that's a negative play. You get the Rams in second and third in long situations. That bodes well for the defense.
Were you surprised at all that the commish, John Kaminsky, was inactive along with Charles Harris, or, after Campbell had said that, felt like just giving him some rest in that spot? A lot of people wanted to ask, like, why aren't they resting the starters, especially after LaPorta got injured and Amon-Ra got dinged up and Khalif Raymond after he was dinged up as well. A lot of people wanted to question, but it's like, they actually did kind of rest some guys there in Week 18.
Yeah, it was a surprise at the time, but, there was an illness going around, and you recognize, look, you're playing the Vikings. Really, you understand that the competition level, you felt like if you were going to play a decent brand of football, you were going to escape with the victory. And you realize, too, that, Tyson Alualu combined with Aleem McNeil coming back, maybe you get a look there to see what he can do. So John Kaminsky, underrated. I think that he's really an individual that's gritty, that I think can have a performance on defense that can do some things. And you realize, too, Dan Campbell handled the roster very well. Never really brought back guys too soon from injury. You realize, look, we all clamor for the guys the second that they're practicing that they get back. Nope, take your time, get back. And I think Dan Campbell deserves credit for keeping some players off the field that, like C.D. Deuce, he probably would have wanted to play much sooner than he did. But you recognize the Lions understand their roster, they understand what they need, and the players respect the decisions made. So for Kaminsky, Harris, if they have the opportunity to play this week in the postseason, they'll come and they'll definitely understand their role, and they'll do their best, because I think everybody's locked in this week to make sure that, hey, we mind our P's and Q's. And Dan Campbell has talked to the team this week. We talked to Josh Reynolds, and he said the message this week, it's time for big boy ball. Pay attention to the details, because mistakes in terms of not being focused on the details can be very costly, especially in the postseason.
Your biggest area of concern when facing the LA Rams?
Like everybody else, very nervous about Cam Sutton and Kendall Vildor. Look, it's unfortunate. I don't want to disparage anybody, but Cam Sutton is just being tasked with being the number one when he's really truly a number two. It stinks that Emmanuel Mosley, who was brought in to potentially compete to be number one defensive back, lockdown player that was physical, that really, I think, embodies what Aaron Glenn likes in a defensive back, but he goes out with injury soon into his tenure. Look, Cam Sutton takes risks, and you've seen the last couple of weeks when, and I know people understand it, and their concerns are warranted. All week, you're tasked with trying to stop Justin Jefferson, trying to stop CeeDee Lamb, and the last month, those guys torched you. And yeah, they're among the elites of the game, but in the end, you spent the whole week trying to stop them. And it's unfortunate, you don't want to go into a game where you go, oh, Nick Mullins was able to torch your secondary. Cam Sutton, look, he's gritty. He's very wise. He definitely studies more than most. He understands the game. But just the position is so tough. And you realize Nakua and Cooper Kupp understand this game at the highest level. They'll get theirs. But in the end, my concern level is how many explosive plays will the Lions secondary give up? You hope that if they, get the ball underneath, the tackles are made, or if the Rams end up in the red zone, you don't give up touchdowns. The secondary is a weakness, and Matthew Stafford is going to be trying to exploit that, but you realize, hey, let's see now what Aaron Glenn brings to the table, because he was a former NFL defensive back. He's got to bring a game plan to really execute, because the secondary is a concern.
John, win or lose in this ball game, the phones are going to be ringing for Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And as much as I want to keep the concentration of our conversation on Sunday night, if for whatever reason, win or lose, which coordinator are you more concerned about losing, Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson?
No, clearly I'm concerned about losing Ben Johnson. That offense is a big reason why this football team is a success. Among the top offenses, moves the football well, has all the key pieces. Ben Johnson can scheme people open, really understands the history of the game, history of the past, to use tendencies of an opponent against them. Look, I do respect Aaron Glenn, and he is, I think, underrated. people have definitely criticized him all year because it's Detroit, and I respect that. They want the 85 Bears. They want to see the number one defense in the league like the Jets, where you hit people, you get turnovers, you see lockdown situations. You don't see so many blown coverages. You don't see bend, don't break. Fans don't like that. But in the end, you got to recognize and give credit where credit's due, is that at certain times when the Lions defense has been asked to step up, they have given up less points. They give up a lot of yards, but that's today's NFL. So Aaron Glenn, I think, will have a lot of interviews. I'm not so certain that he's ready yet to lead a football team on his own. I think he needs one more year in a system and to show that he can continue with good talent to produce at a high level. Ben Johnson, man, that offense is really functioning at a high level, and I think he's definitely, for sure, 99.9%, he's going to have an opportunity to leave and take an opportunity. So, man, Aaron Glenn deserves more credit, but at the same time, you understand why people have critiques, because there have been a lack of adjustments at times in that defense.
Gut feeling for Sunday night's game. I mean, the place is going to be bonkers. Ford Field is going to be loud as hell. You know, my big thing is, can we jump on them early, and can we build up one of those leads where, you know, if you get a turnover, you get a bounce or a break early on in that game. I mean, because that's all it takes. You win the rushing battle, you win the turnover battle, you should win the football game. That place will be, the electricity in the building is going to be through the roof. What's your gut feeling for this actual game? Lions going to come out on top?
Listen, this is great. Let me harken back to the listeners who remember. You remember 1991 when it was the Lions and the Cowboys? What the heck happened? The Lions put a hurting on the Dallas Cowboys, the young Cowboys that ended up being the team of the 90s. I would love that if the Lions just came out and put a hurting right away, momentum, kicking the ass of the Rams all night long. I don't see that. My gut tells me this is going to be a dogfight. The Lions right now are looking across the field from the identical team that they are. They're gritty. The Rams started the year off sub 500. They fought back. They got a veteran quarterback who also wants to come back and silence all the critics here at Ford Field. This is going to be a dogfight, back and forth, momentum swings. Guys, fans, all the listeners, get ready. Buckle up. This is going to be a last possession game. But when you look at this Lions football team, they've been built for this, and they've made the key plays late. My gut feeling, Lions have a lead. Stafford has the ball late, sub 3 minutes, turns the ball over, throws an interception to one of the talented safeties, and the fan base, who have been pent up nervous all throughout the game, they erupt and celebrate in a victory as Stafford disappoints yet again. A guy that did jack when he was here in Detroit disappoints again for the Rams, and the Lions advance. We need it. The scriptwriters have to have it. Lions, Cowboys too.
He is John Maakaron. Find him on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. John, my friend, as always, partner, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you Sunday night in Ford Field.
I can't wait. Be excited, fan base, Ford Field. I know everyone's nervous, but remember, your football team's 12-5, and they're going to deliver.